Dave, welcome to the podcast. I
Uh,
like the hat. Happy
yep.
October 20th, Reds Day for all of us Reds fans out there. It's really one of the last times we've had joy. I mean, we've had some like moments of like clinching playoffs or, going up 2-0 in a playoff series that was only to 3. But yeah, there's been a
There
lot
was
of
that time
disappointment
that
since
that guy
1990.
hit a home run, and then they traded him away. Remember
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
yeah.
That was fun.
That's that's good. So we do apologize to Rennie and Junior and maybe Adam sometimes for this being a day late. This is so weird. It's a day late. We're recording this at like 7 p.m. instead of like late at 10 p.m. Everything
Yeah,
about this feels weird.
it is strange week. I
Um,
wondered if more than two people would have even said anything if you didn't say anything, like how we were going to be delayed.
oh, yeah, yeah. If anybody'd even notice. Oh, I
Like
mean, I'm sure.
more than two.
I can the three I mentioned are the
Okay.
only three that I would have thought would have jumped on and said, "Hey, where's the podcast?"
I mean, we had Josh on, so hopefully he pays attention every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, I see him. Him and Brennan will jump in every once in a while. Lee's
Okay.
pretty active in the chat if it has anything to do with something other than fantasy football.
Do you think at this point that Ed knows we do this?
I, I think he's aware. I do not think that he has checked the app in, I don't know, like ever. So, and then I was talking about this being a little bit weird. I've been feeling a little bit under the weather, so my drink of choice tonight is Liquid Death. It is also our sponsor, so
Look how you committed.
Liquid Death, Murder Your Thirst. I want to thank them, give them a shout out for charging me $1.50 for this can of water. So,
Yeah.
cheers, Dave.
Straight from David Letterman's hose.
Yeah.
That's an
So,
old joke. Old
all
Letterman
right.
joke.
You know. So, Dave, let's jump in.
Yeah.
We're a little bit removed, so it kind of seems weird to talk about it, but let's go all the way back to Monday. Who you got for your Miller Time Team of the Week?
Well, this guy has capped off 4 straight wins with a High Point win. So I got to give it to Lee.
Yeah,
Like he's on a roll and he's getting better and better. And, remember a long time ago when maybe me more than anybody, made fun of him for, pointed out his lack of running backs. Well, that's
yeah,
not a
yeah.
problem anymore.
Man,
He's
that
got
was
more
that was
more running back points on his bench than most of us have in our, starting lineup. So
he is
and that was all at the expense of, he picked a bunch of wide receivers. And so
yeah,
he's sitting in pretty good shape. So
yeah,
sucks to be the guy that has to play him this week.
yeah. Has nothing to do with the fact that he had this epic profile picture on the power rankings, right?
Who, Lee?
Yeah. Did you not
That
see it?
that was Lee?
Yes. It's a skinny young Lee with earrings in, and yeah, go back and look at it later.
Yeah. I guess I didn't. Yeah. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was Lee.
Yes.
I guess it makes sense since he won. That's
Yeah. There.
so.
There you go.
So yeah. So good job, Lee. Keep it up next week. Don't not this
Yeah.
week. Pick back up next week on doing
So
good.
I feel like we talk about this quite a bit. It would be super easy to just give Travis the
Yeah.
hillbilly because he scored 55 points. I'm not
Yeah.
going to do that. That's the easy one, right? We could.
Yeah.
I mean, Travis's team and Ed's team are
I picked the low
trajectory.
hanging fruit. You have to rise above and pick something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. So I got to call out Adam. We have this matchup of Junior coming off of a loss to
Yeah.
Rennie. And if you go back a week, the Rennie versus Junior matchup, we had hyped that up. Man, that's awesome, right? It's like, man, it seems like Junior only plays like these top tier teams over the last couple weeks and then going into this week as well. And so then we get Junior versus Adam. Well, the Junior versus Rennie matchup, Rennie knocked him off, but it was 114 to 102. He didn't get past till Monday Night Football. It was this epic battle.
Yeah.
And then we get Junior versus Adam. Adam was just kept chugging along, getting wins, and he puts up 67 points.
Yeah.
And I know he had a bunch of buys and stuff going on, but I just always, we talk about this, the trust factor. I just always trust Adam to make good moves, and even when he's got buys, to pick up the right guys. And man, it just seems like he's been plugging in some people that have been some duds.
It happens, man.
Yeah,
it happens.
And we've got a lot of these football games been low scoring. A lot of these guys, people who you think are going to get touches aren't getting touches. So it's not really, I'm not blaming Adam. It's not his fault, but I was expecting more out of that matchup than we got. And, we've been, we need to get Adam on the show. I'd love to talk to him about his team, because we've been calling his team out a little bit for lack of scoring. And I think he's kind of aware that he's got a scoring issue with his team.
Yeah.
But he's been getting wins. So, you sit there with 4 wins and you can't complain. But I just wonder how confident he is in his team going forward, because there's some holes.
I think a few of us have those.
Yeah. So, so those are our awards. We've got a pretty fun little activity. This is much harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So Dave's why don't you explain what we're going to do?
Okay. So basically, we talked about this, a couple weeks ago, and we thought if you wait a little bit, then it makes more sense. And that's to do a redraft of the first round.
Yep.
But you have to only use first round players. So
yeah, that's the part that I was like, oh man.
Yeah, because obviously you could be like, people that were in the second or third round. It's like, oh, Josh Allen was picked in like third round or fourth or whatever. He would have been picked first or something like that. But yeah, I mean, you could. So this makes it harder. So it's like, if you had to pick these same 12 players, who would you pick? And so when I think of, first rounders, I think of, we've had 6 weeks. So you would really like, absent of a bye week, your first round to have been started all 6 weeks. Yeah. So that's kind of one kind of thing. Have you at least been able to start them 6 weeks? And then I look for, at least one, if not more, 20+ point weeks. Yeah. Because that means they got, the equivalent of 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, which, that's a good week, but you want that out of you. I mean, you're picking a first round guy for a reason. So wide receiver or running back, that's what you want. And then absent of that, how many 10+ weeks do they have? So that's kind of what I looked at. And then the other criteria I did is, where are they currently ranked at their position? Yep. And so I went down the line, and so we have, our first round was Jonathan Taylor, Ja'Marr Chase, Derrick Henry, Cooper Kupp, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Justin Jefferson, Najee Harris, Stephon Diggs, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon. So that's what the 12 was. So, so I
and just like for a caveat, if it was a true and you could just go be outside of this, right? Like if you had access to all the players, then maybe Nick Chubb would go first, or you know what I mean, like
there might be,
or Josh Allen, somebody take up, you know what I mean, like there's been some guys that are like, because you talk about being number one at your spot or something like that, but we don't have access to those guys. We're talking about redrafting, only using these 12 players.
So I was actually surprised. In my head, I was like, man, a bunch of us didn't do good on the first round, right. But in looking at the numbers based on my criteria, it's like I don't feel like as a whole we did too bad. So I can either I made a list. I don't know if you worked on a list or not.
No, I didn't have a list. So I just how about?
But I could go through kind of how each player fit in the criteria that based on.
Well, if you just told me, if you said, "Hey, Kevin, you pick who you think," and then you tell me if I'm right or wrong, like if this person would fit that. Okay. So like if I only have these 12 players and I'm going to pick my number one.
Start at the bottom or the top?
Okay. We start at the bottom.
Yeah.
We'll start at the bottom. So for sure, 100% it's Jonathan Taylor.
I mean, I could go either way, but yeah, he would definitely be one of the bottom two. So Jonathan Taylor is currently the 35th running back. He's only played 4 games. And he did have one 20-point week, and that was the first week. But then after that, he did like 4 or 5, 4, and then he.
Well, and I guess I would put in the caveat with that. that he's unavailable and I don't know when he's coming back.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a fine choice, and I actually had him 11. The only person I had and it was a flip flop, but Kamara is actually 36th running back. He's also only played 4 games. He has 0 20-point, games, but he does have 2 10-point weeks. So,
and do you think that he could be on the rise? Not back to first round.
I mean, I don't know if
rise, but
he's at least back playing again, and so maybe that would be worth having him be 11 instead of 12, because I don't know if Taylor's playing this week or not. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so we got our bottom 2. Okay.
Those were pretty clear cut based on my criteria, stat wise and ranking wise. That was pretty clear. Bottom 2.
If I had to pick the 10 spot, I'm just going out on a guess. I'm going to go Najee Harris.
That's a great guess. He's currently 23rd running back. He has 0 20-point games, but he does have 2 10-point weeks. So, and he's played. Given that he hasn't missed any weeks, which sometimes might hurt you because he's gotten some low weeks. But yeah, man, it gets tough after this. Those are definitely the clear cut bottom 3.
I'm gonna go. Man, maybe I'm gonna go Jamar Chase.
Very close. At least on. I had Mixon at 9. Mixon is currently the 18th running back. And he has 0 20 points, but he has 3 10-point weeks. So it's not killing you. Yeah. But he hasn't won you a week yet.
Yep. And is Chase right after him?
Chase is right after that.
Because he scored his first 2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, but he's actually the 7th ranked wide receiver, which tells you the quality of everybody else above here. Everybody else is ranked pretty good, because you would think 7th, oh, you didn't do too bad. First rounder, he's 7th, but he's gotten most of that at 2 weeks.
Yeah. If it hadn't been for this past week, he would be. Yeah.
He had 1 week. He had a 1 20-point week, but he's had 2 10+ weeks. He had an 18 early.
All right. So what pick does that put us back at now?
So that's it. That was 9 and 8. Flip flop them if you want.
So we got 7.
Yeah. So we're at 7. It gets harder.
Give me Derrick Henry.
See, I would go Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is currently the 10th ranked running back, which again, that tells you everybody else is better than that. 10th ranked.
And I don't know the stats on some of these guys as well. So, Henry and Cook, I know that I did peek at this at the rankings a little bit, but I don't have it memorized. So I'll take your word for it. Yep.
So he's got 1 20-point week, and he's got 4 10+ weeks. So Dalvin, I thought early on, like after the first 2 weeks, he struggled, and I thought, man, Travis really blew it. But he's definitely been fine. He's right in the middle of the first round.
So so that was number 7, is that right?
Yep.
Okay, so you.
I have somebody else between Henry.
Okay, so is it McCaffrey?
Yep, McCaffrey, and. McCaffrey's currently.
The funny thing,
and the thing is, he was on my list.
He was drafted 6th, and you got him 6th.
Yeah, so I think he's right where he should be. He's the 4th ranked running back. He has no 20-point weeks, but he's gotten 11+ all 6 weeks. So it's like one of those. We've had that conversation with: do you want the big high week or do you want consistent? He's at least got me 11 or more, between 11 and 18 all 6 weeks. So he hasn't won me the week, but he hasn't hurt me either.
So does that mean 5? You've got Derrick Henry?
I got Henry at 5, and I was actually surprised by this. I didn't realize he'd been doing as good as he had, because he kind of started off slow, but his points have gone up every week. He's 5th ranked. He's got 3 20+ weeks in a row, and then he has he started off like below 10, but then like I said, he's gotten better and better. 3 20-point weeks, and yet he's not even up at the top. That kind of shows you how good some of these other people have been.
Yeah. So let's
here we're at 4.
It's either Stephon Diggs or Austin Eckler. I don't know which one's got more points.
So you might not like this, but I'm going Jefferson.
Well, that wouldn't be based on their rankings.
So he's actually ranked 3rd. So he's lower than, Yeah, it kind of is based on, you know,
What? So he's third. I thought I pulled up that. Okay, so maybe do I have the third and fourth best wide
you
receivers?
might have that. Yes.
Is that what I have?
Is Hill.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jefferson is third ranked wide receiver. He has 220 plus weeks. He's got
Okay.
four
I
10
know
plus
that. I know
weeks.
that Cooper's first. Okay. Spoiler alert.
So the only thing that has probably knocked Jefferson to here on my criteria is that he has 2 weeks where he was below 5.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that
I know
kind of,
he had two bad weeks, but I knew that
yeah,
he was top five, and I just got him and Stephon. So if
yeah.
Stephon's
So
second,
then,
then you're
so
right.
then Eckler, I put, and here you could flip flop because it's hard to compare, you know, when you're the
Yeah.
same ranked wide receiver or running back, which one do you want? I got
Yeah.
Eckler there. Eckler is
So
currently
let's
third.
start over again. We got four. We've got Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. So now three
Three.
Eckler.
We got Austin Eckler, which is going to put us second. We're going to go Stephon Diggs. And are you going Diggs
I got it
above?
flip flopped because
Well, Cooper Kupp's the number one ranked wide receiver.
no, no, he's not.
Yeah. Now, are you what points are you going off of?
At least not in the. I just hit add players, unless my
Yeah.
list was old.
I just pulled this up today.
Wide receiver, and then I put total
All
points.
Based on
2022 total fantasy points.
position
Stephon Diggs.
rank.
Diggs has 101. Kupp has 92. Okay.
Well, Jefferson is third
Yeah,
ranked.
that's what I said earlier.
Okay, he's third and he's fourth. I don't know why I had so Stephon must have just passed him this week. Maybe I looked at it before.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean,
yeah.
these are all pretty darn close. So
no,
so
he's
Eckler,
he's got 101 points and Kupp's got 92.
Yeah.
Kupp had what did Kupp have? Yeah, he only had 9.7 last week, where I'm pretty sure
that's his
Stephon
lowest
went.
week.
Yeah.
His lowest week is almost 10. He's got one 20-point week, whereas
Yeah.
Diggs has two 20-point weeks and 4 weeks of 10 plus. So he's in, you know.
And he has 2 weeks below 10, but he's got a 32 point week in there. So
One of the things we talked about was, you know, what's the first round matter? You know, has it really affected things? And so when you look at our rankings, we have, you know, Junior is in first place, and based on this list, his first round didn't go so well because he's at, you know, the ninth, you know, the ninth best, you know, for would have, you know, if we redrafted. And then you got Rennie. Rennie is probably benefiting from Henry, but he's, you know, right in the middle. Lee is probably the biggest beneficiary of his first round pick because he picked Diggs and we have Diggs 1. But then, you know, some of the things like, you know, Adam is at the bottom with Kamara and he's not at the bottom of the standings. It probably has hurt Josh with Jonathan Taylor.
right.
You know, but you know, it's not a 1-for-1. That's kind of what, you know, I wasn't sure what it would look like as far as, you know, if you blow your first round. But no, thing is, I didn't realize. I mean, I'm looking up and down this list, and outside of a few, it's like first at position, third at position, fourth position, second at position, fifth at position. You know, well, all in all, we did all right. You know,
Yeah.
and there aren't any other than Taylor, who I mean, nobody's out for the year.
Yeah.
Which is like,
so you're
we've
saying
had other years.
I should feel good though, right? I drafted 8th, and I have the fourth or fifth player on your list.
Yeah, no, I mean, you definitely have. You didn't hurt yourself by picking him where you did,
and
we all passed up on him.
And in the second round, I got Hill, who is the right behind him. So that's got to be. I mean, it's not. I don't want to say those are value picks. You're not getting value picks. You want your first and second round players to be good, but the fact is they are good. Now, what my problem is that, and I threw it out on the thing today. My running backs are trash. So.
Yeah, and that's where when you go 1-2, which I don't know where you got.
Did.
Yeah, I mean, you're foregoing some running backs and you're hoping to hit on some, like Lee did. You know, Lee picked a bunch late, and now they're all. And then he didn't pick that. I mean, and then having good savvy pickups. You know, picking up somebody that takes over for somebody and starts getting more touches. Being on the lookout for that. So kind of in conjunction with this, I was like, well, first round, obviously it's not 1-for-1. You know, if we re-ranked, where it's not ended up being our first through 12th list. So I was looking at well, maybe how much transactions we've done, and there is a little correlation. Like Danny's only made one transaction and he hasn't won a game.
Yep.
So either he just loved his draft, and nobody's got hurt, or he's not paying attention or doing anything,
Yep.
And that's why he's 0-6. Brennan's only made 2, and I feel like, I touted his team. I thought he had a pretty strong team up and down, and he probably just hasn't, he agreed and hasn't wanted to get rid of them, hasn't had bye weeks or injuries, and, or he's not paying attention. Ed has actually made 5 moves. I think he made them kind of early.
Well, he made a bunch going into my game with him.
Okay. So he's kind of intermittent. He'll like really try a week and then I've only made 5, and that's mainly because I just have been, and really the only reason I've made that many is because I've had 1 kicker on bye and 2 kickers get hurt.
Yeah.
So outside of the kickers, I've only made a couple moves. And then Brian's only made 6, and he's got a strong team. Hasn't really had to probably. And then Rennie's 7, Kevin 8, and then you start getting up there. Adam's made 18 moves. Lee's made 13. Junior's made 12. And so,
does it surprise you that Adams made 18 moves? That's such an Adam thing to do. Although it probably speaks to the strength of his team. I mean, he self-admittedly, he's got holes he's trying to fill. So
yeah. So it just kind of shows, it's interesting to see, even the transaction list doesn't really reflect more moves higher up in the standings. Right. The top 3, I guess you got Junior, Lee, Adam. So 3 of the top teams have made the most moves. So maybe, maybe we're all stupid and we're missing out, But then Travis has made 11, and he's got 3 wins, but he can't score any points. He's got the least points out of all of us. So I just thought that was interesting to track, who's doing what. And it's a good time because most of these moves have been, we've had a couple, like, we're just kind of at the beginning of bye weeks. They're going to keep going, and people are going to have to make moves.
You think we'll see any trades this season?
I don't know. We're all so gun shy to trades because you just assume the other person's trying to screw you over.
Yeah.
And then people complain about it, like, "Oh, you're just giving away." It's like, we're all grown men. We can do whatever we want. We're all the coaches of imaginary football teams. We can do whatever we want.
Brendan threw it out there.
He did.
But here's the funny thing. So I was looking at that. Brendan threw out. He's like, "Hey, I got 2 top 10
and
tight ends."
End's a tough position right now. You can't find
it. Is, but like, I have 2 top 10 tight ends. And I don't think either one of them are great.
Yeah, the tight end position
so
outside of Kelsey.
2, they're like, it's like he's got number like 5 and the number like 7 or 8 tight ends. So they're not like.
It's been tough because you've had weeks like that. Hawkinson had a blow up week for Junior with like 30 some, but that not every time. A couple guys like that. Have you seen
the gap? The gap between like what Kelsey and what Mark Andrews, and then like one of Brennan's guys, like that. We're not even talking about the same position here.
And I 2 years in a row now, I've picked Waller thinking that he would be that guy, and he's not.
No.
It's like, but he could be, but he's not.
Next year, do you want me to write you a note?
That you do not draft Waller. It's like he has all the talent in the world, but he just can't find a ball in his hands. Dude. So can't stay healthy.
All right.
So we thought that was a pretty good, obviously people can make up their own mind, flip-flop some of those positions, but, based on a different criteria than what I put out there. But, I just kind of was going by, I'm looking for what rank they are this far in the season, as far as how many total fantasy points they played, and then like how consistent they've been with 10-point weeks, and have they thrown in any 20-point weeks for you, to win you a week. And so that'll be interesting moving forward. Like I bet we won't say this at the end of the season, because somebody will get hurt and we'd be like, and get knocked down to the bottom.
Yeah. And we still got, we're not even halfway through yet. So some of those guys that are at the bottom, Kamara could.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that leads me into something that I just want to kind of tease out there. Want to preview. This kind of led into it. This isn't a full. After next week, after this week's games, we'll be halfway through the regular season. Okay.
7. Yep.
7 weeks of a 14-week season. And so next week's shows, a lot of the time is going to be spent doing a 2022 halfway rundown. Okay, we're gonna run down a bunch of things. I'm sending Dave a questionnaire. He's gonna so these are based off of fact, not fiction, because like I don't know what I'm talking about. Dave does, so he's gonna answer these questions
see.
for us. Yeah. And then I'll just give great dialogue saying that I agree or disagree.
Okay.
So here's the questions I'm going to ask Dave. And so what
And
I
you'll
want you to
post these
do,
for everybody?
I'll post these out for everybody, but people that are listening get the joy of seeing it first. Okay.
Oh yeah.
If you want to fill out your own. Okay. You don't, and then, have it kind of, while you're watching next week's podcast, you can kind of see if you're right or wrong.
They
You
could
can even
even
post
feel
them.
free to submit it right to you
Yeah,
ahead
you
of
can
time.
post them in chat.
We can read them on the air.
Yeah, we'll read them on the air, see how you did. So, okay, so here's the questions that I'm sending to Dave. Okay.
And this is after this week's games. So don't
after this week's games.
Yeah.
Yep. Biggest surprise in a good way. Okay. So biggest surprise in a good way. So that means I don't want to sway this, but you kind of alluded to it. After maybe the first 2 weeks of the season, you see somebody that's down at the bottom, and then all of a sudden now you look up and they're up at the top. So that could be something that we're talking about when we talk about biggest surprise in a good way. Dave could take that a totally different direction. He could just pick a player. He could pick, hey, this is this is on somebody's team, and biggest disappointment. So again, that could be that you said, oh man, that's Jonathan Taylor, or it could be one of our teams and be like, hey, this has been, the storyline of this season. This is the biggest appointment. Okay. Best draft. Okay. Who just had overall, do you think had the best draft? It doesn't mean that they got the best record right now, but it set them up for, success, right? Best late round, 8th round or after pick so far. Okay, so who's got the gem that everybody wishes they would have had? Everybody had a chance to get them, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't. Okay. Okay, this is an interesting one. Who has done the most with the least? Okay, so maybe that means they've had to make a bunch of moves. Maybe that means that they've won a bunch of games, but they haven't scored a bunch of points. So just who do you think is done the most with maybe the least on their team? All right. Who has made the best moves? All right, so that's a different category. Okay, who is and it doesn't have to be that they've made the most. Could be that they've only made
sometimes,
a couple
like
moves.
I think I alluded to this before, like last week when I was trying to find anybody to pick up for that Darrell Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just because he was doing nothing, and like I just couldn't find anybody, so I didn't. And now he's because Cam Akers has a mental problem or something, he's going to be the number one running back. But he's not superstar by any means, but he's somebody I can plug in. And so sometimes the best moves are the moves you don't make.
Yep. Now these two, we got to wait till all the games are finished next week to kind of know, or this week to know this. But okay, who's outside the top 8 that will make the playoffs? Okay, so who's going to make the playoffs? One team.
The answer could be 0
after
this week.
But you got to pick one. You got to say who's the most likely. Okay, most likely. Most likely will be out of the playoffs. Who's in the top 8? Okay, so those two. And then they do this a lot on these sports talk shows. I'm going to ask you to tier our league. Okay, and the tiers are chance for a championship. Okay, so what and we'll just go league championship. Okay, who's got a chance to win the league? Okay, maybe that's 1, maybe that's 3 teams. I don't know. Okay, so that's a tier. Okay, a tier is relevant but not scary. All right, so they're probably not in fear of missing the playoffs, but you don't really think they're going to end week 14 at the top. All right, fighting for 8. All right, so these are the teams that are fighting for 8. Maybe they're in 9th place, maybe they're in 6th place, but you feel like
that could be a big tier.
That's a big tier. Okay. Better luck next year. That's those are the teams that we're done with. After halfway of the season, you're already.
There's one person that after this week they might be a tier of their own if they don't get their act together.
Yeah. That's the. Are you gonna a relegation tier? Is that what you're?
Yes, we're soccer terms.
Yep.
We have a B league of fantasy that you'll be sent down to. I don't think we have anybody waiting in the wings though, ready to take
Yeah.
over this nonsense.
No. The you're gonna get the Ricky Vaughn red card in your locker. So, all right. Now, let me pull this up. I had it pulled up. So now, we'll kind of talk through some of the matchups we had last week as we go through the power rankings. So, I've got
Okay.
the power
Yeah,
rankings. There's
that's the yeah, okay. Oh, man, look at that guy.
look at Lee. All right. So, reclaiming his number one spot. He
Yeah.
probably should have never left it. We kind of were a prisoner of the moment, but
Yeah. What have you
Junior,
done for me lately?
yeah,
That's
yep. Junior off all weekend, makes easy work of Adam, but still scores over 100 points,
yeah.
and he's in first place, and everybody else is playing catch up. So
Yeah, because
Junior,
he's got the points too. So it's
yeah,
even a win's not going to get
yep,
anybody this week up to him.
yep. In second place in the power rankings, Heim Time Industries. Brian just keeps climbing. Man, he scores a lot of points. He's got a really good team. His record is starting to catch up to
Yeah.
his team. He's 3-3. Is that
Yeah.
right? Do I got that
It
right?
just seems like a stronger 3-3 than
It
some of
does,
the rest
man.
of our 3
Yeah,
and threes.
it's a scary team. Discount Double Check takes a step back after being in
did.
junior. He was on bye. Yeah, and I had a lot of guys on
Yeah.
bye. This is going to be an important week for Rennie. And not so much he's playing Ed, so I'm not really worried about the win or the loss. I'm really going to be looking for, as somebody who votes for the power rankings, how many
Yeah.
points does Rennie score this week?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because you don't, especially like if Ed doesn't end up filling out a full lineup, or he fills it
yeah,
out with like 7 Patriots,
yeah.
that don't play, then
That's not going to tell
even a
the full.
win, Rennie's not going up unless he scores
Yeah.
some points.
Yep. Then we got Show Me Your TDs. You talked about it before when you gave him Team of the Week. I mean, this guy's on fire.
Yeah.
4 straight wins, right?
And thing is, he's doing it without like top tier quarterback play. Like,
Yep.
my 2 high point wins are the weeks that Lamar got in the 40s.
Yep.
He's been doing all this with getting 20 points from the quarterback, which isn't bad, but it's not like win you a week kind of thing. He's doing it with running backs, wide receivers, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So if he ever gets a week where Carr or whoever he decides to plug in gets 30 plus, then he's money.
Yep. Yep. At 5, we've got the Smithereens and self-admitted. Okay. This team may be made out of glass. Okay. We're getting wins, and I'll take all the wins I can get. Being at 4-2 is a gift, but we got to start scoring some points.
What place are you in?
I'm in like tied for 3rd
In the power rankings?
Well, in the power rankings, I'm 5th.
Okay. Yeah, because I had you 6th.
Yeah. So, but I have more. I do have more points than some of the other teams. Like I have more points than Adam, so that's what put me above Adam. So
you put you above Adam. I didn't.
no, the fact that I had.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
But if we would have both put you at 6, then you would have been at 6.
Yeah, but Adam would have had to score more than 65 points to do that.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But he's Adam and you're you. Does that factor in at all?
Less for me because because I love me. Nobody loves Kanye like Kanye.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. So
speaking of Adam, he's at 6th. He can't like seeing himself at 6th in the power rankings, but he can't like seeing 65 points scored either. So his biggest flaws right now are at running back, and I think that he's got some guys going this week that are, we said Kamara could.
Yeah, and if he's not, it doesn't even look like he doesn't know which Detroit guy to play, so he's just keeping them both on the bench for now. But
yeah,
if both those guys, when they were the only ones starting, were doing great earlier in the season, right. Swift, if he comes back and is,
he's got running backs. I mean, you would think to yourself, go back to the draft. you've got Kamara and Swift on your team. You think I'm set at running back. Now,
And he
that
started
hasn't been
off,
the
Swift
case.
was starting off good. Kamara didn't. They
Yeah.
just haven't been hitting at the same time
Yeah.
for injuries and whatnot.
So again, well, neither one of us have any fear that Adam's going to make the playoffs, right? But he would like to score a little bit more points than what he's got right now. Then we've got you. Your team's really Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah. I don't know how I eked out 70 points this week. I was looking pretty bad. I guess 13 kicker points on Monday night kind of helps with that.
Did you play Travis?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was a
this
gift.
is the weakest win.
It was pretty weak. But your dumb quarterback wouldn't throw it to Mike Williams. He's the only guy that's worth anything without Keenan Allen. And
he didn't throw it to many people. I don't know if you watched the game.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was a good thing I wasn't dependent on him.
He threw one pass that was long, but he threw it out of bounds, and Williams still caught it, but he was out of bounds because the ball was out of bounds.
Yeah. Herbert has not, there's been a lot of comparisons to Burrow and Herbert, and some people were saying that Herbert's the better quarterback. That they if they had to start a franchise, that which one of those two guys. And even after Bengals went to the Super Bowl last year, a lot of people going into the season hyping up Herbert, and now that he's on my team, I expected more. I'll just say that I expected more from him on a weekly basis. He's good, but he's not. I mean, Burrow's got that it factor that I don't see out of Herbert right now.
Yeah, no.
So, vote flex. He is on his way down. Man,
who's he got? Well, we haven't got there, but
so
he is. He probably will be on his way down.
Yeah. You can't score 55 points, and man, he's struggling. He's been pretty quiet too.
He is the great hope for the 9th through 12th guys.
Yeah. And we got Brennan, Sundance Kid. Nobody knows quite what to make out of Brennan. He had a great week, and then he had a terrible week, and so
I'm losing faith.
Yeah. And then Josh comes up. Joey.
Yeah.
B,
welcome to the club.
Welcome to 10. Hey, he's got to feel like that there's a little bit of hope. If he could get another win.
You think it's going to make other people want to get on the podcast? Like the people like Danny and
no, probably not.
And people that are trying to get up to the playoffs,
Yeah. But if we switch over real quick, so those are the power rankings.
Okay.
But if we switch over to the standings real quick, I'll just run through them. Junior's in first, Rennie's in second, Lee's in third, I'm in fourth, Adam's in fifth, Brian is in sixth, you're in seventh, Travis is in eighth. So that's our top 8. And then we've got Ed, Brennan, Josh, and Danny, with Travis in the 8th spot. Yeah. And then guys like Brennan and Josh who are still trying and want to make the playoffs. I don't know that I could say that about Ed. I don't know that we would say that about Danny just because he's in such a deep hole. There's hope. I mean, one of these guys is going to make the playoffs. I'm confident of it. I'm confident that either Josh or Brennan will make the playoffs, and that somebody who's in the top 8 right now will be out. I'm not saying it's Travis. I'm just saying somebody in the top 8. And so, we'll see what happens. Because I mean, they're only one game back right now.
Yeah.
So, but that's the rankings, and then we'll jump into the matchups for this week. And again, we've got some intriguing matchups now. Junior, after having kind of like a tough schedule, it's a little bit.
He gets your schedule now.
he gets a little bit easier, and he plays Travis. Any predictions about what's that?
Any hint of a trap game? Who's Travis got going?
He does catch him
without Josh Allen.
Without Josh Allen.
Yep. And he gets Prescott back, which I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah.
We'll see.
He's got him plugged into the lineup. I mean, I will say anything could happen.
Yeah.
And if Travis is going to make the playoffs, it starts this week.
Yeah, I mean, any given like Metcalf and Godwin, any given week, they can be the guys that score a bunch. I think Melvin Gordon he was pretty ticked for not playing, like getting benched a little bit during the game, and had a talk with his coach or something this week apparently. And now
I mean, he's got 2 1s at running back.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. I like the Cincinnati defense against Atlanta. So, but that'll be a big part of this whole thing, Mariota versus Cincy D.
Yeah,
and
those
what
are some
happens
points
there.
differences right there.
Yeah. Next up, it's you versus Lee. How do you feel? On paper, you're projected
Can't catch a break.
To win.
I can only hope that his momentum is waning. And of course, ESPN has me ranked higher, but they have Lamar like projected for 30. Like he's got 4 weeks in a row now, or three weeks in a row below 20, and suddenly he's magically going to put it all together.
That's how much faith they have in Cleveland, right?
Yeah. I'm like, that's not where I think I'm going to get, I'm not banking on those 30 points. I'm going to need.
The weather could be terrible, right? You just never know what could happen.
Yeah. And I would rather start Singletary or Henderson, but they're both on bye. So my second running back's a little sketchy. McCaffrey's been, steady. If Mike, Higgins, Williams, Lockett, like,
and
they don't always get the ball.
You got to think CD gets an upgrade, right? Having Dak back.
I would think so. Yeah. So I'm not liking, I feel like I'm going to have a 115 to 120 week to beat Lee.
Adam seems like it. He only plays tough teams, him and Brian both. So it's Adam versus Brian. Man, this one's got like huge playoff implications.
Like, it could really shoot Brian up with his points, getting to 4-2. He'll go above anybody else that's 4-2. And even if he's probably the only one that if somehow, Junior went to 5-2.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, it would take Brian 2 weeks to catch him, but he could catch him.
Yeah. I mean, Mahomes versus against the 49ers, that's a tough draw.
Yeah, but Mahomes is, I don't know. I don't think that's a don't play him. Obviously.
No. But
I mean,
honestly, if Brian had any quarterback play whatsoever, I mean, Kyler's been terrible.
I mean, I'm treating as good as the 49ers defense has been most of the time for me.
Yeah.
I'm treating it like a bye week. I'm not playing them against Kansas City.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I give Brian the edge there, but I think that don't ever count Mahomes out. So you never know. We got brother-in-law battle.
And
Josh
this is like
versus
one of the two of those guys has got a legit shot to have a better chance of making the playoffs, and one of them's going to be in a big hole.
Yep. Yeah. It's funny that here we are just in week 7 that we're like, oh, this matchup's got playoff implications, right? So he's rolling with Geno Smith, it looks like, and we've got Joey B going up against Atlanta. Man, that's a nice matchup for Josh.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So, and the Jets D against Denver. Denver can't do anything. So
no, I don't see that turning around anytime soon. But
no. All right, and Rennie gets the bye week with Ed. Although Ed,
I mean, what more can we do? We post it. No. We put on the
He's got a full lineup.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
He's got 9 players now.
Yeah, he's listening to the podcast.
I didn't. Yeah, earlier today he didn't. He had
no.
So he must have made some moves then.
Look at you,
he didn't
Ed.
have a quarterback on it. He picked up Brissett.
Yeah.
Picked up Conklin apparently.
Picked up Pollard too, right?
Okay, so ESPN's not liking it. He got 9 spots and it's still below 80 projection.
Five guys on his bench are on bye.
They're all going to play. I could see, New Orleans would probably tonight have to get a defensive touchdown, either return one or, pick off Murray for a 6 to get that 6 points, because I think Arizona's going to score 20 plus. So they're going to have to get a defensive touchdown probably to get that 6 points, but it could happen. And then, McPherson could score 20.
Yeah. So, and then it's me versus Danny. So I said it early on. I said Danny could get his first win this week. My running backs are in trouble. He catches me without Jefferson.
You think Brady's mad?
I think Brady's mad.
Brady's playing mad, and he's not going to want to hand the ball off to anybody. He's going to want to chuck it.
Yeah. So, and I mean,
Eckler has been money.
What I lack for quality running backs, I make up for in quantity of running backs.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them.
And I could play any of these guys.
How do you have 5 running backs and none of them are projected to at least have 10 points?
Well, because they're that bad. So Connor isn't going to play because he would. At least
that Atlanta guy's now the kind of de facto starter, sort of.
Yeah.
Now that Patterson's gone, so.
Yeah, and if Dobbins is, I think that Dobbins and Drake, one of those guys will shoot up, because if Dobbins doesn't end up playing, then Drake would. So right now Dobbins was questionable. So,
but you're not ready to double up on the Tua and Hill points? Or are you still thinking about it?
I'm not ready to double up on them. I'd like to see him play a week.
Yeah, I guess that would. I mean, and Herbert, you wouldn't even thought about that at the beginning of the season. You'd be like, oh yeah, Herbert, lock him in. But he's been a little sketchy these last couple weeks. I don't know what I guess anecdotally or just in my head, I don't really know. Let me see what his last. You would probably know.
Well, he's ranked 8th, and he scored 9 points, but then 9 and 16, but 25, 15, 30, and 20. So he started the season off 30 and 30. Amazing, right? Then he had a down week, 15 against Jacksonville. That's a good defense. You're like, that kind of stunk.
Then he teased you back up to 25.
Yeah, back up to 25, and then it's been 16 and 9. So
and that's tough It's tough to get. You got to make up a lot of points when your quarterback gets you below 10.
Yeah, but I won both those weeks. So it helps when you get like 45 points out of your 3 wide receivers.
So this could work out. You play him, and he does so. Tua lights it up. He's on bye week 7. You don't have a choice to make. Tua's back in the lineup.
Yeah. So, although, man, I just want to see Tua get through an entire game. I guess that's my point.
That's the same reason I'm probably going to leave. I mean, I only got a few minutes, but I'll probably leave Taysom Hill as tight end, because I want to see Waller actually play a game and catch some passes before I put him in there again.
Yeah. So, well, I will post those questions in chat tomorrow, so guys can try to answer them themselves and see what they think. But mid-season coming up after this week, got a lot of fun storylines happening in the matchups, a lot of early playoff implications happening, and again, sorry to all of our loyal viewers for being a day late, but
I said I could have done it on Tuesday, but I know you got a life to live,
Yeah. It was ring night, so.
But I was in Lexington, setting off foggers at 10 o'clock or whatever. So I got back at 1:30 in the morning. That's not too bad.
Yeah, we could have done it then.
We could have done it then. Were you up at 1:30?
No, I was passed out on like NyQuil.
Well, drink a bunch of liquid death, get yourself back healthy again.
It's not. I mean, I like it. It's just not quite the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next week will be for our big podcast. That'll be fun. Anybody who wants to join us next week, send me a text and we'll add you, and you can weigh in on the mid-season rundown. We'd love to have you. So
I mean, basically we'll probably no other segments. It'll be that segment with the questions,
awards,
matchups, and that'll probably be enough. So
Well, I do want to thank Ed for filling out a lineup.
And if anybody disagrees with our redrafting, let us know. Tell us that
Well, so
we're
like,
stupid.
yeah, so we kind of got the best of both worlds. You kind of got the one that was like anecdotal, me sharing them just off the top of my head,
Yeah,
and
you were
then
close, man. You were really close.
You were stat driven, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was.
So, but I mean, if you right now, if I gave you the first pick, the whole board is on there. Who you taking?
And I don't know, a better wide receiver. I would
That's what.
probably, I would probably like, I would like to have Cup on my team
Okay.
over any of my wide receivers.
Yeah. So if I had the first, if I had Brennan's spot, pick number 1, first round, even if I had the 8th spot, if I had, doesn't, you know what I mean? Just get, probably right now I'd take Josh Allen. I just think it's such a difference maker. 40 points a week or 35 points a week is just, if somehow you could, you wouldn't have, but like if somehow somebody could have gotten, him plus Diggs or him plus one of these other wide receivers is just like pop, like, I mean,
you definitely could have. I don't think he was picked till the 3rd or 4th, right?
Yeah, imagine if you.
So
yeah,
Diggs was 1. Like Lee could have picked Allen with a 2nd round and had stacked.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah.
60 points just with those two.
But that's the injury, or if he's just mediocre, just good, then you lose out on what you could have got with a better running back or wide receiver, because if all the other quarterbacks are getting 25 and your guy that you picked in the 2nd round gets 25, you're missing out.
Yeah,
that's the risk.
And nobody would balk right now at having Chubb or Saquon if you gave them in the first round, right? Like those running back points would be amazing to have. So it's tough, like, because that'd be interesting too. Like if we look at the draft, you see who Brian took. He picked Jamar with his 2nd pick, right?
That could have backfired.
By the time the season's over, he might be. I mean, right now it looks like, he could have got. He probably should have gone 8th or 7th or something like that. But by the time the season's over, he's probably going to be looking pretty. He'll be looking all right. I don't know that he'll finish as the top wide receiver in football this year, but he'll finish in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that many years ago when quarterbacks were in the 1st round. Peyton Manning, people in our league picked them, and it wasn't crazy back then. So we could get back to that point again. Who knows?
Well, I mean, even like, I feel like maybe 3 years ago, Mahomes was that guy. Like 1st or 2nd round. I'm not saying 1st round, but I'm just saying like early on, that if you wanted him, you had, I mean, kind of like how Travis Kelce is. If you want, you can't, tight ends go in.
And that's the thing. Like if you want them and you think they'll be there in the 2nd, and then somebody might outsmart you and pick them in the 1st,
Right. Yeah.
Interesting. So all righty.
Yeah, man. Thanks for doing this. And thanks for everybody for watching. Good luck this week. And we'll see you at the midway point
next week. All right.
Yeah. See ya. Thanks, Dave.
Well.